Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, Thanks for taking the time out to join us for this webinar. Uh, by way of introduction, I'm Sanjay Surana. I'm a second year student at London Business School, and I'm also the current president of the Investment Management Club. Uh, I'm joined by two of my colleagues, Frank and Swati.
Hi.
Hello.
They're first year students, and they'll be leading the Investment Management Club next year. Uh, Frank and Swati, they worked all their life in China and India respectively. And if you have any questions regarding recruitment, perfect. So the webinar today is regarding the Investment Management Club and the activities we organize throughout the year to help you with the recruiting in the investment management field in London and in other countries. Uh, to give you an overview of the Investment Management Club, it's a student-led club. And what we do is we basically organize various kind of training programs, various kind of speaker series event, stock pitch competitions to help you prepare for the investment management recruiting. The structure of the club is divided into three components. The first one is Student Investment Fund, which is about 0.7 million, was started in somewhere in 2003. We have been managing the fund for the last 17 or 15, 16 years. Uh, the second is Investment Management Conference. Every year, we organize Investment Management Conference wherein we invite speakers all over the world to talk about issues which are very relevant in today's environment. Generally, the timeline for the conference would be sometime in April or May. We just finished an asset management conference sometime in April, which was attended by more than 100 people, and we managed to get really good speaker for the conference. And the last component is Management Club, which takes care of the training programs, speaker series, events, mentorship programs, uh, and help you prepare for the investment management recruiting. Both Student Investment Fund and the Asset Management Conference report into Investment Management Club, which basically means the head of Student Investment Fund and the Asset Management Conference would be reporting to Frank and Swati next year. Uh, so this slide is all about why do you want to make a career in investment management. Our pitch is very simple. If you're just curious, if you want to learn how the world works, if you want to learn how the companies work, how businesses work, and how different issues in this world come together and impact the value of the company, probably investment management is your field. And this is something which you want to explore as a full-time career as a summer internship. The IM recruiting process at London Business School is broadly divided into two components. The first one is structured recruiting, and the second one is unstructured recruiting. The structured recruiting, what would happen in structured recruiting, a lot of companies will come to campus, they would give their presentations. You will have a chance to meet the company officials, speak with them, network with them, understand what they do, and also pitch your investment thesis, pitch your candidacy. Uh, we Investment Management Club, we also organize various kind of career treks. For example, last year we organized two career treks. One was in Hong Kong and the other one was in London, wherein we sent students from LBS to meet various companies in these two regions. uh, Unfortunately, last year both the career treks were scheduled during the same time, sometime in the month of October, probably the last week of October. About 15 to 20 people go for both of these treks, and we meet large mutual funds, hedge funds, small boutique investment value funds, etc. The idea of these treks is to expose students to understand what people are doing in this industry, what are the requirement of various mutual funds or hedge funds, and basically again pitch your candidacy for summer internship. The third part is basically scheduling coffee chats, which is pertinent for which is pertinent for unstructured recruiting. By unstructured recruiting, what I mean is that you need to basically go out and find your own job. School will provide you with all the resources for you to be able to go out in the market, pitch your ideas, speak to people. But you need to find who do you want to talk to, who do you want to reach out to. And how do we do that? We basically schedule various kind of coffee chats with industry participants, people who are working in these funds or mutual funds, uh, or let's say the LBS network, LBS alums who are working either in London or in different countries. How do you prepare uh, for these two steps of recruiting, which is unstructured and structured recruiting? I think the basic requirement would be, resume and cover letter. For every job, you need to submit your resume and cover letter. All the companies which are coming on campus, they would ask you to submit your resume and cover letter. In your first or second month at LBS, Career Center will run various workshops for you to refine your resume and cover letter. Uh, you will also be given sample resumes and cover letters of the students who have previously made it to investment management, either summer internship or full-time recruiting. You will also have an opportunity to interact with people who have interned in investment management firms, be via peer leader sessions or informal coffee chats with second year students. Uh, IMC will help you to prepare for your stock pitches. The way the interviews work in investment management field is that in every interview, you're supposed to pitch an investment idea. Uh, the company which you like, the company which you don't like, what is the investment rationale for that, what is the valuation of that company, what is the upside you are expecting, and what are the key risks. IMC will help you with preparing the stock pitches. What I mean by that is we will organize various kind of workshops. I think last year we organized about 4 to 5 workshops. These are the workshops which are delivered by either industry participants or specialized investment recruiting firms, which would come on a campus for, let's say, a couple of hours or a full day training program, and you can go through those programs to own your stock pitches. You also need to understand and know about various industries. For example, if you have previously worked in healthcare industry, so you need to know what happens in healthcare industry, what are the current trends, what are the current risks, where the industry is heading, etc. Uh, the kind of resources we had at LBS is that we have Bloomberg terminals. There are about 25 to 30 terminals in both the campuses. And we also have various kind of sector guides which would be made available to you once you join LBS and once you have access to LBS library resources. As I also mentioned before, you would also have access to peer leader sessions, which is nothing but one-on-one conversation or the one-on group conversation scheduled by second year students. These are the people who have gone through the similar process last year, and they would be able to help you in terms of navigating the recruiting process. And the last one is, you will have ample opportunities to participate in stock pitch competitions, which will be A, organized by Investment Management Club, and B, organized by various other schools. So, for example, this year we had three internal stock pitch competitions wherein people from various programs participate and pitch their stocks to various judges who come from different mutual funds or hedge funds. Uh, and B, we also sent many students to different schools. For example, this year we sent students to Cornell, we sent students to UCLA school in California, and we also sent a couple of students to Toronto for stock pitch competition. You'll have opportunities to participate in these stock pitch competitions. The benefit of participating in these stock pitch competition is you actually simulate live world situation in the sense that what you are expected to do once you have a summer internship, and it also helps you to basically polish your resume, because if you have something on your resume which says that you have won the stock pitch competition, either internal competition or external competition, it helps you to attract eyeballs from recruiters. um, the third part is how do you apply to to these jobs. We have the timeline in the next slide, which we will cover in next couple of seconds. And the fourth component is basically interviews. Career Center will run various workshops for you to prepare for your interviews. These are basically mock interview preparation. In addition to that, Investment Management Club will also run their peer leader sessions wherein you can actually simulate the interview situation. The slide is about indicative recruiting timeline at LBS. As I mentioned before, there are two ways of recruiting into investment management. One is structured recruiting, and the other one is unstructured hiring. Sorry. Structured recruiting will start right from October, which is just a couple of months after you arrive on campus, and last until January, wherein you will have all your interviews and the final offers will be made. What I mean by structured recruiting is that the big funds like Fidelities or the Capital Group or the T Rows of the world will come on campus. They will have their own information session wherein they will help you understand what T Row does or what Fidelity does or what Capital Group does. They will also get a few people from their office to speak to you guys, and there will be an opportunity to network with these people, to pitch your story, to understand more from them about their day-to-day life and the kind of work they do. Uh, as mentioned on the presentation, as you can see, right from October until January, you will be preparing your resumes, cover letter, submitting your application, conducting interviews, and in sometime in January or early Feb, you will actually have an offer in hand. So once the structured hiring is done, then the second leg of recruiting, which is unstructured recruiting, is pretty much on you, which basically means that you need to find out which companies you want to apply to, who do you want to meet, how do you reach out to those guys, how do you submit your resume, how do you submit your cover letter, pictures, etc. And the process for that would actually probably might start from, let's say, the moment you arrive on campus. The way the unstructured recruiting works is, you know, you need to schedule your own coffee chats, meet people, uh, tell people that why you are interested in this particular industry and what is the value addition you bring on table if they were to hire you. Uh, and the unstructured recruiting will last until June, until you actually find your internship. Uh, Based on our experience, we find that probably unstructured recruiting is something which would be the bigger portion of total recruiting. Uh, Most of the people who go into investment management field, they do their own recruiting, they do their own networking. Uh, and also also a lot of us, we also do part-time internship or off-cycle internship. By that what I mean is that people who are not from the UK or people who have visa problem, the tier 4 visa allows you to work for 20 hours a week. So most of us, we did a part-time internship starting term three. So term three is generally very light. By that, what I mean is you can actually pretty much define your own schedule. And if you want to work in term three, you can find a part-time internship. There'll be many funds who would be coming on campus for part-time internship requirements. All these requirements will be posted on Career Center, and you will have an opportunity to apply for those jobs. So that's all about the indicative timeline. So this slide is all about what kind of skills you need in order to succeed in investment management interviews. As you can see on your screen, I think that the three basic technical skills which are required, two basic technical skills, which is accounting and finance. And in addition to that, you also need communication skills in order to pitch your story and pitch your stock. How do you develop these skills? For accounting and finance, there will be many classes at LBS, right from your core term to your term 2 and term 3, wherein you'll be taking various tailored core and electives. Some of the classes we feel would be really useful for you guys to start thinking about would be, let's say, finance 1 and 2, which would cover the basics of finance, financial statement analysis, behavioral finance, security analysis and financial modeling, and MBO, merger and acquisition. I believe most of these classes are available to you in year one. Uh, and these classes will help you to hone your accounting and finance skill set. In addition to these classes, as I mentioned before, Investment Management Club would also be organizing various kind of training programs, which would help you to own your finance and accounting skills. Uh, in addition to these technical skill set, I would also recommend you to start reading about some of the newspapers or some of the books. For example, it's must to follow what's happening in the world, which is well covered by Financial Times and The Economist. And also, we would recommend a few books you should read before coming to LBS or when you arrive on LBS. And the third skill set is basically pitching your investment idea. For that we would be organizing various kind of stock pitch competition. You will have an opportunity to interact with peer leader session. There will be a 6 month long Orbis stock pitch challenge. Orbis is a mutual fund. It's about 30 billion. So they've been organizing this competition for last many years, and every year LBS student participate in that competition. So you will have an opportunity to participate in that competition. I think the timeline for Orbis would be somewhere in the month of October and November. That's when these people would come on campus and talk about the competition. And you will have about 2 months to research on a particular stock and submit your application. And once you submit your application, they will select whether they want to take you into this competition or not. And then, in addition, as I mentioned before, we will be organizing various internal and external competition. So these are the three basic skills which are required to succeed into investment management interviews. Yeah. By now, you would have figured out that stock pitch is the most important thing if you want to succeed in investment management interviews, and majority of your focus and energy would be devoted on developing a good stock pitch. uh, we have listed down a few steps which you should follow in order to come up with a good stock pitch. I think the most important and probably the most difficult step is how do you source these ideas. We believe you can actually run a few screeners. You can follow other investors who you admire who are buying some stocks. Probably that could be the initial step for you to start thinking about a company. Third step would be you can start mapping a particular industry. By that, what I mean is that let's say if you have a previous background in healthcare, probably you can start mapping the entire value chain, right from diagnostic to pharmacies to healthcare to hospitals or to the medicine providers. And once you have the names of the companies, probably you can start digging down to understand whether a company makes sense or not. The fourth step we would recommend is to look at the sell side research reports. Sell side keep coming up with new stock ideas every once in a while. So probably that could be a starting point for you to start thinking about stocks. For sell side research, once you guys are on campus, you will have access to Thomson Research, which will give you access to all the sell side research. So once you have figured out which particular company you want to work on, the second step would be how do you write that stock page? How do you think about that stock page? So these are some of the steps we recommend you follow when you write your stock page. The first one is introduction, which is nothing but introduction about the company. What is the basic business model of the company? How does company make money and how does company spend money? And the difference between these two would be the profit, which is retained by the company. The second is variant perception. We feel this is the most important step in your stock pitch. By variant perception, what I mean is that what is your differential opinion about the company which you are pitching to investment professional? For example, if market is thinking A, B, or C about a particular company, based on your research, whether you think these A, B, C reasons are valid or not. So that's your variant perception, and that's where basically the opportunity exists. The third step is your basic investment thesis. What are the reasons you would like to invest in a particular company? These could be macro reasons or micro reasons, depending on your research. The fourth step we would recommend is key risk. What are the risks to your investment thesis and how do you mitigate those risks? The fifth step is financials of the company, which is basically building the financial model, coming up with the projections. And the last step is valuation. How do you value these companies? Uh, I know at this point of time, maybe this is sounding very daunting to you. Maybe this is just too much, but don't worry. As I said before, we will be, organizing various workshops to help you with this. And over a period of time, once you do this process once or twice, you'll get better at it. What are the data sources you need in order to develop your stock pitch and in order to start screening your ideas? Uh, One is annual reports, which is available in SEC filing if the company is listed in the US market. Or every country will have its own regulatory requirement wherein the companies are required to submit the annual report. So that's the first step. You need to read the annual report in order to understand the business, in order to understand how the company makes money. The second is conference call transcript and investor presentation. Again, this would be made available on SEC filing if the company is listed in the US market, or based on the various regulatory requirement, these would be listed on the various stock exchanges. The third, which we think is the most important, is to conduct primary research, which basically means talking to the people who are in the industry, who have been working in the industry for quite some time. Through these three data sources, you can actually get a very good sense about a company and its business, and you can start putting together a stock pitch. The last step in developing a stock pitch is basically to refine your stock pitch, which is nothing but practice with your friends and peers. Um, so that's the fourth step. We have also listed a few examples of the stock pitches. For example, Columbia, I think once in a quarter, they published a newsletter. The link is given in the presentation. Uh, you can actually go there, read the investment pitches, which will give you a fair idea of how the stock pitches are actually written and how do you conduct your research. The second link is about a YouTube video which has been posted by Fidelity. Fidelity is a large mutual funds. I think one of their research analysts has posted this video. I think it's a good starting point uh, to figure out how the stock pitch is presented and how the stock pitch is actually made. Uh, with all those things out of our way, the next slide is all about what are the resources which are available at LBS. The first resource which will be available to you the moment you come on campus is Career Center. So you have various kind of career coaches and sector leads who would help you to understand the basics of the industry, how the recruiting works, how the interview process works. Second resource you would have is PLP, which is Peer Leadership Program. Second year student would sit with you to help you understand how the recruiting works. We also have Bloomberg terminals on our campus. You have BMI research, which covers various kind of country-focused industry reports. We have Capital IQ, which would help you to get all the data points or all the previous financials. We have Data Stream, Deal Scan, FactSet, and all the other resources which are listed on this slide. You will have access to all these resources once you come on campus. I think in the first or the second week, once you're on LBS, you will have your induction program with the library, and they will help you to navigate with these resources. Yeah. So I mean, the next slide is, I mean, we have spoken about how to develop stock pitches. We have spoken about the indicative timeline, about the recruiting. Then probably the next question which comes to our mind is, how do we start? It seems like there's too much work needs to be done. Uh, so we have listed a few steps which you should follow over the next couple of months before you come to LBS, which will help you to prepare better for your investment management recruiting. The first point is use your summer wisely and start working in your stock pitches. Trust me, guys, this is the most important step. All your interviews will be centered around stock pitches. And one of the consistent feedback we have received from various recruiters is that LBS students are not well prepared for the stock pitches. So sooner you start thinking about your stock pitches, better would be for you, and you'll be able to present your candidacy to all the future recruiters. We have already spoken about the various steps you need to follow in order to come up with various stock pitches. I would highly recommend you to go through the Graham and Dodd newsletters, which are published by Columbia Business School once every quarter. I think they started way back in 2006. So you have about 12 years of resources in public domain to go through. Um, Second step is finish the recommended reading and start reaching out to your peers who are interested in IM. The recommended list of books is actually listed in the next slide. We will give that to you. What I mean by start reaching out to your peer would be to start reaching out to all the people who are joining you in the class of 2021 and see who would be interested in investment management. Form a group, start discussing these things with them so that once you come on campus, you already have a support system in place to practice your stock pitches with each other. The third step would be to network with LBS alumni in the IM industry in your city and country. Uh, this is very important because investment management recruiting, as I said before, is unstructured. People need to know who you are. People need to know why you are interested in this particular field. And how do you do that? You just network with those people. What I would say is that start checking the LinkedIn, start seeing who are the people who are working in various funds, various hedge funds, boutique investment fund, or the value investing funds. Start reaching out to them, send them a message, ask them for a meeting, and start understanding from them what do they do on a day-to-day basis and what do they look for in a future candidate once they are hiring. Next step would be to start following the blogs and start reading the shareholder letters. By that what I mean is the big funds, they always come up with their shareholder letters once a year at least, or every quarter. Start reading these shareholder letters, because these shareholder letters would cover the basics of investment management field, what's happening in the industry, what's happening in the world, what kind of companies they are looking at, what kind of companies they are owning, and what is the rationale for that. That would give you a very good sense of how to present your stock pitches. We have given you the link in the bracket, which would help you to look at these shareholders' letters. Start following the Value Investor blog, Sum Zero blog, and Alpha Research blog. These are the three blogs. Once you type these names on Google, I think these links will pop up. And here, most of the people would put their stocks and the sample pitches. The next step would be to make a list of investor you want to follow and make a list of funds with whom you would want to work with. Uh, that would give you a heads up when you go for your coffee chats or once you start recruiting, once you are on LBS campus. A starting point would be for that particular list be to look at a company which you admire and look at the shareholder list of that particular company. It'll give you a good sense of what kind of funds are owning that companies, and it'll give you a good sense of the list of funds, list of shareholders. The last step, which I would say, is to get involved with IMC. I think the club membership is already open. If you go to clubs.london.edu, you can start signing up to Investment Management Club. As I said before, this is the recommended list of readings. It might look very daunting, but guys, I mean, this is, you don't need to go through all of this list. I mean, these are some of the readings which we found very helpful when we were going through our recruitment process. The first, I would say, is the most essential, because it covers how should you come up with a particular pitch, what is the process. The name of the book is Pitch the Perfect Investment. If you want to buy the book, buy the book. If you don't want to buy the book, you can actually look at the link. The authors of the book have given an interview to Columbia Business School in which they have covered the summary of the book. And also, I think once you're on LBS campus, there is a free ebook available to you about Pitch the Perfect Investment. And we also have physical books. The second book is Competition Demystified. All three of us, we think this is the best book, which would give you a good sense about the industry and how to look at the competitive advantages of different companies. In addition to that, there's a long list, as you can see. Probably once you have time, you can actually go through all these resources. I would like to emphasize on point 11 and 12. People who don't have any experience in investment management industry, I would highly recommend you to go through this book, which is listed in point 11. This would give you a good sense about the process and the steps you need to take if you're switching your career from any other industry to investment management industry. And the point 12, if you're still wondering what would your day-to-day job look like, I would highly recommend you to go through this particular PDF. It's given by a famous hedge fund manager here in London who spent about 30 years in investment management industry, and he's documented his experience and what he likes about the industry and what he doesn't like. My sense is it will give you a good sense about how your day-to-day job would look like. In this slide, we listed a few. Sorry for that, we had some connection problem. I was saying that this slide is all about the various kind of interview questions which are asked by all the investment management firms. As you can see, the technical questions are always around your investment philosophy, your investment process, and how do you apply this process to the stock which you would be pitching, and the other questions which I mentioned here. I think the best way to start thinking about all these questions would be to read about investors who you admire. It could be Warren Buffett, it could be Charlie Munger, or it could be anyone else. Start reading about their investment philosophy, start reading about various other investors. Uh, in public domain, you will find enough information about them, and they will always talk about their investment philosophy and research process. My sense is once you do that, you'll get a good sense about how to think about your investment philosophy. And guys, I mean, based on our experience, every person has his own investment philosophy, so it's fine. If you haven't figured that out yet, you will have enough time on LBS campus. We will give you enough training programs to help you with that. And then we have also listed down a few fit questions. You will have, as I mentioned before, Career Center would help you out with interview preparation. Investment Management Club will also help you out with investment interview questions. And once you have a group of people who are interested in investment management, you can start practicing these questions with each other and start coming up with model answers. Uh, with that, the last slide is about about the investment management club and the structure of the investment management club. Frank and Swati would be back on campus sometime in September once they finish their summer internship. Uh, and once they are back on campus, they will have induction program about the investment management club, wherein they'll give a presentation about various positions which are available for you to apply to. Every year, we hire about 15 to 20 students to help us with the investment management club. And some of the positions which are available would be, let's say, speaker series, learning and development, mentorship program, competition, etc. You will have an opportunity to apply for this position and be involved with IMC. These are the career center resources. Tim Mann is sector manager. Please don't send any email directly to him. If you have any question, feel free to send emails to peer leaders. He's generally very busy. He's helping us with the summer internship. What I mean by us is, first year student and second year student. So it would be slightly difficult for him to reply to your emails. So I would say if you have any question, reach out to all the peer leaders which are mentioned on this whose names are mentioned on this particular slide. They would be happy to help you with any questions if you have. In addition to that, we have also mentioned our email IDs. If you have any questions about investment management recruiting or investment management club or general life at LBS, please feel free to reach out to us. Either me, Frank, or Swati would be very happy to help you with any questions you may have. With that, guys, I would like to take this opportunity again to thank you for taking the time out to spend to join this webinar. At this point of time, if you have any questions, we are happy to answer your questions. I think you can type your question on your screen, and those questions would be shown to us, and we will take this question one by one. Yeah, so one of the questions we have received is that um, will there be any focus on socially responsible investing in the club, and would we help you with stock pitch competitions, etc.? The answer is yes. Investment management club will help you with that. I think socially responsible investing is still a very nascent field. Not many investment funds are actually focusing on that yet. Having said that, this is probably one of those fields which is probably getting the most attention from all the investors. What we would do, probably we may not have a very focused training program on this, but we will get some investors who are totally into it, and they would be able to come and help you with their key learning, their research process. There's not I don't think there are competitions which are just focused on socially responsible investing, but at LBS we have impact social impact club which also looks after this particular field. uh, yeah.
In addition to that, they're also launching the Impact Investment Fund next year, which you probably will have a chance to get involved with. And as Sanjay just mentioned, we at IMC also have a focus on this. For example, last year we had the head of sustainable investing at HSBC come and talk to us. So these are some of the ways that you can get involved in SRI next year.
And also, I would also say that there's this podcast called Invest Like the Best. I think there are about 60 to 70 podcasts which are listed on that particular channel. And one of the podcasts was all about socially responsible investing in ESG. Head of Putnam Investment came and spoke about that particular field for about an hour. I would highly recommend you to go through that. Hope that helps.
The next question we have is on how to prepare to switch from investing in Indian markets to global companies.
Uh, Saurabh, I think the process is pretty much same. The key steps of coming up with an idea, developing your stock pitch would still be the same. My sense is you need to have one Indian stock, one global stock when you go out for interviews. Uh, the way I would start thinking about it is that look at the companies, look at the products which are using for now. For example, if you have an Apple mobile, look at Apple, look at whether you like that company or not. If you're using your computer which is using Microsoft products, look at Microsoft. I think the basic what I'm trying to say is that start noticing what kind of products you are using and whether those companies are listed in the global markets, and start reading about those companies. Start reading the annual reports, start reading the research reports, start reading various blogs, uh, and start following the shareholders letters. I think that would give you a good sense. Having said that, as I said, the process is still the same. You have to write the investment thesis, you have to write key risk, you have to come up with the business model, which won't be materially different from what you have done in Indian markets. Both me and Swati, I think all our life we have spent in India market. Uh, in the beginning, it seems slightly difficult, but I think having gone through that process for the last 1 year, we find that the process is exactly the same. Uh, I don't know if Frank think otherwise.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it's more from China angle to the global angle. The process is pretty similar. You still need to developing investment thesis, and also for those recruiters in China, when you do structured recruiting, they also require you to submit your investment thesis, basically a stock pitch, or they will address several questions that you need to answer them with the investment thesis or views about how you view the whole economy or how you view different businesses.
Thank you. The next question is whether there are many opportunities to get involved with distressed debt fund.
Just a clarification here, the investment management club will be responsible for anything related to investment management or hedge funds, asset management or private wealth management or credit funds as well. So distressed debt funds would be a part of this. We would have speakers come on campus. There are not many competitions that happen focused on distressed debt, but we do have credit pitch competitions that happen within LBS and outside of school as well. There is a In addition to this, there's an additional club at LBS which does PVC investing. This was another question we have, if this club will be responsible for that. We would only be responsible for anything that is public, and the PVC club will be responsible for anything related to PE or VC.
In addition to that, Ben, I think there are not many funds which come on campus which are related to distressed debt. But I think when we conducted our last London trek, all the companies we visited were debt funds. Some of them were actually doing distressed funds also. So you can do informal recruiting or coffee chats with people who are in distressed funds. And London is full of these guys, and I think majority of the money which is going into is actually distress and ESG funding. So you'll have enough opportunities to look for that. We also have an elective called distress investing, which was until last year taught by people from Oak Tree and Bain Capital. I think this year also you'll have that opportunity to take that elective, which will help you to prepare for distressed debt funds. Thank you.
The question here is, what are the top IM recruiters from the LBS MBA class? We have mentioned the top names that we could think of. Of course, these names are not the same every year. They would span from the Fidelity's, Capitals, T Rose to BlackRock as well. The numbers keep changing every year, and the recruiters keep changing depending on the talent that they find in the campus. But once you're on campus, you'll have access to the historical internship offers and the full-time offers that have been made, and you'll have a good sense when you're on campus.
And also, I think, let's say if there are funds which you're really interested in, but those funds doesn't have any kind of structured recruiting, you can always reach out to them for coffee chat and try to build networks, and that way you can actually get into those funds. The next question is, are a lot of members or students coming from IM background? What was the previous industry before MBA, or if different from IM? Uh, it's mixed. I think investment management is one of those industries which usually does not require you to have some kind of previous experience in investment management. Uh, if you are really passionate about the market, if you're really passionate about investment management field, I think that would be assessed in your interview. And if you come across as a person who's super interested in this particular field, most of the companies won't be bothered whether you have an experience or not. Without naming a few people, I think this year and last year we know a few people who didn't have any experience in investment management, but they managed to find summer internship and full-time recruiting opportunities. As I said, I think it's all about stock pitching. It's all about being passionate about the market. It's all about following the investors you like. It's all about reading. It's all about being curious. If you have all these things, probably I, in my opinion, in our opinion, we don't think you really need to have any kind of IM background for IM recruiting.
The key things that we've heard from people we have interacted, the recruiters we have interacted with, is that they mention that you need to have a passion for investing. Second, they're looking at people who can synthesize information, put together a hypothesis, and communicate it well, because that's going to be your day to day job in the top IM funds.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
The next question is, how about other sectors in investment management, that is fixed income, quant, macro, etc.? I think we already covered this. Investment Management Club would be responsible for all these. But as I mentioned before, the important distinction between Investment Management Club and private equity is that we are responsible for anything which is listed, which is public. And if there are any fixed income or quant or macro funds which are listed, we would be happy to help you. Specific to quant, we have association with AQR Institute, who actually hires a couple of students from LBS every year, both for summer internship and full-time recruitment. So those opportunities, yes, would be available to you. It's a long question. We will read that out.
This is a question about the future of IM. This is a question I think is always running on our minds as well, and a key question that we pose to anyone we have on campus. The key thing to note is that people are still positive on this industry, at least those who are in this industry right now. People think that active and passive investing are going to coexist even in the future. This can be a long winded discussion, so we can take this question when you're on campus. Thank you. The next question we have is on the necessity of preparing stock pitches to get an internship. Yes, this is a critical aspect of getting an internship for any of the investment management funds. If you're looking for private wealth management, this may not be as necessary. But yes, this is required for your part-time internships or your summer internships as well. The key reason they ask for stock pitches is just to understand your passion for investing, and if you're able to analyze a company and present your theses to your recruiters.
Yeah, and just to add on that, even during the coffee chat you're gonna have with other investors, they will all often ask about your stock pitches. And even if you want to recruiting for those sell side equity research roles, the interview questions will also emphasize on the stock pitches as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is some experience for investment management club, somebody who doesn't want to recruit. Uh, Yeah, first of all, congratulations. You've already secured a job. I think your life will be super easy at LBS. You don't need to worry about recruiting. Look, I think Investment Management Club, just by the virtue of the kind of speakers we get on campus, if you attend those speaker series events and if you attend all the workshop, it would definitely help you to become a better investor and network with potential future peers. London is a market which is full of different investors, different investing styles, different investment philosophies. And if you want to go out and chat with them, majority of the people would be really happy to speak to students. So yeah, I mean, if you don't want to recruit, totally up to you. There are enough opportunities for you to learn from different investors. For example, we run various series called value investing series. hedge fund series. So you will have an opportunity to learn from these guys, and you will have an opportunity to network with these people.
We also have the alums of LBS who are currently working in investment management come on campus and talk to you. So this club can also be leveraged to connect with these alums to get a sense of how has their career progressed after graduating from LBS. And as Sanjay mentioned, we have speakers across different spectrums of investing come and talk on campus. For example, next year we have Guy Spear coming on campus and talk to us. So this is just a good opportunity for you to get to know about investors and how they think about their investments.
Um, and also, I think one last point I would like to mention is that, as you already know, investing is all about your internal motivation. So if you're really passionate about this particular field, I think you have all the opportunities, A, from LBS and B, from Investment Management Club, to go out and speak to different investors.
I think we're done with questions. Frank and I would like to take the opportunity to just walk you through our experience since we were in the same shoes as you are now last year. So both of us recruited for investment management mostly. We greatly benefited from having peer leaders. In fact, Sanjay was one of our peer leaders as well. We greatly benefited from them because it's always good to speak to someone who has gone through the same process. And they have helped us from drafting your cover letters, drafting your resumes or your stock pitches, or practicing with them, or even when you're through your internship process deciding on what fund should you be looking at, or in between the interview process just to have mock interviews with them. So that's one resource that I would highly recommend. The second one, of course, is the stock pitch workshops and the competitions that happen are a great resource. Also, the stock pitch competitions personally benefited me. I was part of the Cornell Women in Investing conference. This is not to say that it is just an opportunity to pitch stocks and it is all about that, but it's a great way to meet folks from other schools and just to expand your network. Frank would like to add to this.
Yeah. For me, it's first, I totally agree with what Swati has said that you're going to benefit a lot from the club in terms of the peer leaders session and also all the speak series run by the club. Actually, there are actually extra things that I would consider, which is quite helpful. First, there will be some mentorship session. I personally participated in one of the mentorship session, who is run by LBS alumni, and basically he will teach you how to do value investing in 6 courses, and you will benefit a lot from that. Not only from the value investing framework, but also he will give you a case to work on, a company to work on. So that will hone your skills in terms of how to research about companies, how to think about certain business. The other thing is that, as Sanjay said, that basically you really need to spend your summer wisely. You need to start as early as possible to do readings and to read all the stock pitches, because once you are in London and you start your course, basically the recruiting season already started. If you prepare your stock pitch very well, and you will definitely gain some edge during the structured recruiting process. And even if you want to do the unstructured coffee chat, I would highly suggest that you have at least 2 stock pitches ready to discuss where you're with the potential investors in London.
Also, to end this webinar, I mean, a few points I would like to mention. The first one is, look, the investment management recruiting is a long gestation process. It takes a lot of time if you're part of the unstructured recruiting to A, go out and have your own network, B, to go out and schedule these coffee chats, and C, to come up with various stock pitches. Um, but it doesn't mean that the success rate is also low. I mean, all I'm saying is that it takes a lot of time. Once you have a job, probably it's one of those jobs which are very fulfilling. You're always learning about new companies. You're always learning about new industries. You're always learning about people. You're always learning about yourself, your mistakes. So I think if you're intellectually curious, if you're generally curious, if you just want to know what's happening in this world, probably this is one of the best fields to enter into. Uh, Second point I would like to again mention, I mean, just a logistical point. don't send emails to Tim. We have given the email ID of Tim on the presentation, but try not sending him in any email because he's generally very busy. If you have any questions related to recruiting, related to general day-to-day life, feel free to reach out to us. You have our email ID on your screen. And the third and the last point I would like to say is that just start reading about all these books, start reading about stock pitches, start reading about various investors. So once you come on campus, you're already informed what you want to do and what you don't want to do. Uh, because once you come on campus in August, term one would be really, really busy. There will be many social activities, there will be many classes, there will be many recruiting activities. Uh, and the benefit or the disadvantage of IM recruiting is that it's not as easy as other industries. Majority of the recruiting is actually unstructured recruiting. So you need to be basically intrinsically motivated to get into this particular industry. So once you know that what you want to do and you've already done the basic reading, and if you're really passionate about this, once you come on campus, I think all the activities and all the effort would be just centered around this, and that would actually help you in long run to get a particular internship or a job. With that, thank you very much for taking the time out to join us for this webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us.
Just a few final words. The objective of this webinar was to not stress you out, but to give you a head start, because there's so many activities happening on campus, and having a head start will probably help you plan your year better. I think the three of us will agree to one fact that time flies when you're on campus. So this is just to give you a head start. We at the Career Center are also hosting a webinar next Wednesday at the same time from 1 to 2 p.m. London time, where the Career Center sector leads and the career coaches will guide you on how to make the most of your MBA life once you're on campus. Thank you.